despite what their moms told them. They just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Thursday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia live on X Spaces at some point, most of the time. We do it 100% of the time that we do it. Syracuse gets back on track with a 69-59 win over BC. It's good enough for 11 straight for the Orange. So, I saw a graphic, I think that, and I don't know, it was a picture sent to us, and I can't remember who off the top of my head, but I think it was a picture of I have it right here. I don't know what it was a picture of, but it was sent by Cuse Mojimbo. 11 straight wins over Boston College. It's the longest active streak versus Boston College in Division I. Pretty good. I'm happy. I'm happy about that. So, anyways, you'll hear from us. We'll hear from you in feedback. We'll also just give you a quick UNC snapshot. I think we all know who UNC is. They really haven't changed much over the last year. Not too much. I think there's a new face here. But transfer from Stanford we'll talk about. But yeah, so look, no montage, but there wasn't much ground covered. I mean, honestly, just a little bit of talk about Judah. Obviously, he didn't start, and that was a violation of team rules. Coach Red says, no big deal. Expects him back versus UNC. Is what it is, right? Let's move on. Nothing else to really talk about that. But McLeod in a boot, and I think Copeland slipped in the locker room and said that he's out for the year. So, I don't know. I saw the boot before all of that happened, obviously, and I was like, that does not look good. So he's on a boot with the little wheelie dolly thing. So, not great. I saw that from James Zuba. Tweeted that last night.
Scooter thing?
Yeah, he was on a scooter.
No, that's fun.
Yeah, so.
No, most of the time that's Achilles, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it happened during the last game, right? Or maybe practice or something. I don't know.
Most likely.
So, anyways, my thoughts yesterday. I thought that again. I mean, enough can't be said about Malik Brown shutting down in 2 consecutive games each team's best center, or best big guy, let's say. And
right.
It's no small feat when you're talking about Filipowski from Duke, and then Quentin Post from Boston College, who he just shut out. He was 0 for 4. Post was 0 for 4, had nothing. I think he turned the ball over 4 times, 7 times.
7 times,
okay?
yeah.
So, huge. And Syracuse on defense at times yesterday just looked so frustrating for any team.
Yeah.
It's just amazing what they did. There was the up-tempo game still worries me a little bit. I know Boston College tried to slow it down, but just the bad shot selection on some of that stuff. Bell got it going with the 3, followed by Justin Taylor with the 3, and then Malik Brown down low. And finally, Bell did hit 4 of 9, which is good. I mean, I'll take that all day. But Justin Taylor 1 for 5, and just kind of still struggling. And I think they're shooting over the past 4 games in the low 20s or mid 20s from behind the arc. So a good sign to see it get going, but I'm still waiting for the consistency there. Some lapses in offense. Obviously, starting without Judah was a little bit, weird, and I believe it was his first time he didn't start since playing for Syracuse. I think he's been a starter. I think he's started every game that he's played. So, and then I noticed Copeland sitting on the bench a little bit longer than I thought he would when Boston College started to get hot a little bit on offense, and they good on them. They scorched a 19-point deficit, ended up coming in and leading at one point, but some of that is just. I mean, you go 9 points in the first 16 minutes of a game. You're gonna start scoring at some point.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it was you saw it get turned on, and then once it got turned on, they cycled some guys through, and their bench actually didn't do too bad. What's his name there? Madsen. Yeah. So a little
Kelly
spark
had
for them.
Some good minutes too.
Yeah. So anyway, all in all, I felt like this is a good rebound for Syracuse. And I don't know if it was a must-win, have-to-win, but it definitely showed that resiliency. And again, we're kind of at the chalk level, right? I mean, you're winning the ones you should be winning, even when they're competitive. And, you've just got to get over the hump and get one of these big ones coming up. And that's where we're at. We know what this team is and what they're capable of, and they can hang with almost anybody until you reach that next level. That's where Syracuse is struggling.
Yeah, and the way that they held Quentin Post, we knew that. I think that's really why they struggled so much. We talked about it. The offense goes through him, and the way that he was struggling and turning the ball over. We spoke about before Malik Brown, and they talked about it on the broadcast about just how fast his hands are, and they created problems. The one thing that I did notice is when you look at the Elig Bays and the McLaughlins and the posts, like. Yeah, we stopped them from scoring for the most part, but they still had 13 offensive rebounds. They beat us in rebounds, and you can tell that those big bodies, down there outside of whoever Malik Brown's guarding, sometimes they got some offensive rebounds and some easy putbacks and stuff like that. But to your point, you go the first 16 minutes with only 9 points. I thought we should have been up way more, and then they scored 13 points in the last 4 minutes to get it within 10 going into halftime. So that kind of made me a little nervous. And then, obviously come out of the half and they start to cut it away. You assume the Post is going to do something better in the second half. But obviously it was still a little bit more of the same. Obviously you just had players like Harris and Madsen that started hitting some threes, and obviously, McLaughlin and Elig Bay getting some putbacks. But, yeah, dude. I mean, I kind of saw that whole thing coming. Even at the end of the first half, I was like, okay, we should have had a bigger lead. Then they go on a little run, get it within 10, and I kind of had a feeling they were going to come back and make this a game, and they did. And to what Coach spoke about in the presser, we've been tested. We've been in close games with not as difficult opponents, and we came back. We spoke about coming back from 24 against Colgate. And we've, had the lead and allowed teams to come take it back only to, go ahead and end up winning the game. And it was nice to see them, be able to get back on their game on defense and kind of focus in on the shooters again and eventually get a 10-point lead that I think a lot had to do with the fact that, we went to the free throw line 23 times, 17 to 23 to their 4. They made 3 out of 4. So, keeping them off the free throw line and hitting our free throws, and obviously, stopping, pretty much shutting down Post and Zachary for 0 points. I mean, I think that was obviously, the biggest things. But, when this first started out, it looked like it could have been way worse than this.
Yeah, but just being that it is Boston College or was Boston College, I knew that wasn't going. Weren't going to just walk away with this thing, and they overcame a 16-point deficit against Georgia Tech, I believe, and came back and won that game, right? So,
oh yeah, you could tell they weren't going to give up, right?
Right, but Post was scoring that day, and also,
they
scored
in the 80s. They've been scoring in the 80s,
right?
So I mean, we got to give ourselves some credit there defensively. To what Coach said, it's probably our best defensive game in ACC so far, albeit we've only played 4 games. But yeah, I mean, like you said. First half was, you watch that defense, it's just frustrating. Then they got a couple shots off near the end there. And then, that lapse in the second half, I think we just kind of lacked focus as far as being on the, the shooters. And I think we gave Harris and Madsen.
Well, they started to move. They started to change some bodies around and stuff like that too. I think.
Right. Yeah.
it took them out of the rhythm, but they gathered their nuggets and they went back at it. So all in all, I don't care. It's a win. It was ugly at times offensively, and Justin Taylor kind of, for a guy of his size, man, when he takes it to the rim, he needs to take it to the rim. Like, take it there. He had
a good finish.
He did, but there was one on a fast break where, he should have just freaking thrown it down, and he ended up missing it. And by the way, Malik Brown took numerous like high elbows. Not swings, but shove offs and high elbows, and none of that was called. Quentin Post pushed him down on the ground, basically, and it was aggressive. And when it gets that aggressive, and luckily it didn't get out of control or anything, but I think when it gets that aggressive, you should tighten up the whistles a little bit, and they didn't. And that's kind of that was also frustrating. It was frustrating to watch. So
yeah, I get that, but when you see so many turnovers, and they had 18 fouls to our 7, right?
I know, and I was so surprised by that. That they had that many called on them. Because it could have been, and you can talk about both teams, but of course I'm biased because I'm an Orange fan, but it could have been so many more for Boston College. Yeah. Quentin Post could have fouled out 10 minutes earlier.
Oh yeah, he probably could have, but when you look at this game was just a lot closer. When you look at it realistically, the amount of fouls that they had, 18-7, was a direct reflection of our 23 free throws to their 4. And then obviously they had 22 turnovers to our 8. So, that was the game right there. And, if we shoot any better, which I know we can and we have, then this is a way bigger win. But, to your point, Boston College, we knew they were going to be tough. And, they came back from Georgia Tech and it didn't stop coming. So, but yeah, dude, Chris Bell coming out playing the way he did, that's going back to what we talked about before about not really messing with the starting lineup too much. Obviously you had to because Judah and McLeod, but that's the reason why you start Chris Bell, because he could do things like he did last night.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that type of confidence fueled him to be able to honestly. If you remember, he was the one that came off the bench when they took the lead, and he had been sitting for a little while, and he came out and just drained a 3 from the baseline to take the lead back. And, because he started the game off with confidence and hitting shots and getting some dunks, that allowed him to, be able to go to the bench, be a good teammate on the bench, come off the bench still with confidence and hit those shots when he needs to. So that last night was a perfect example about why you still keep, a guy like that in your starting lineup, and obviously Copeland, he did Copeland things, and Malik Brown, I just don't think you can say enough. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 4 blocks, no turnovers. That is a ridiculous box score.
7 for 8 from the line. By the way, he's 23 for 26 for the year, which is great. He just is almost automatic. At Donnie Lake on Twitter, Malik is turning into my favorite player, and Taylor does not need to see all the time he gets. He is not very good right now at all. Look, Malik Brown is awesome. And that's why I just saw this while you were talking and figured we'd give it the shout out. I didn't realize how it finished, but Taylor's frustrating to watch sometimes, and it is what it is. He's got to settle in and just find his role. He does do things that, he had to steal, and he's a little bit more disruptive than just the one steal on there, but I think he needs a little bit of he needs a little bit of work. So, 7 rebounds, that's helping out. And by the way, we lost on the boards last night 42-36, which I would have never have guessed, but it was those offensive rebounds for Boston College were so frustrating in the second half. Yeah. They just were on that big time. And that's one thing that Syracuse has not really been falling too far behind on this year is the battle of the boards. At Saltine Warrior 4, got to be disappointed. Red preaches 4-minute stretches, yet they can't close a half and have up to 20 point and have up and must be gave up. Gave up a 20-point lead due to the same shit we've been seeing for years. Missed free throws and bad rebounding. A couple of selfish plays off of turnovers. Luckily, Malik Brown is a consistent force. Yeah, the closing out the halves. I saw a little bit of that on Twitter. I got to agree. We've kind of been struggling with that. It has been years, but this year has been glaring because they've been really, really good up until the close. And I'm just happy that they closed out the second half because they really did it pretty handily. I mean, it was close until it just was not. It didn't come down to a free throw battle.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was play, and it was defense, turning the ball over and actually coming down and not having an empty trip and scoring. So
yeah, I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to have lulls, I mean, if we don't start off, if we started off like Boston College did, then we would be like, oh, too many slow starts, right? Or not finishing a half. Like, I mean, we're not going to play. It's very difficult to be just on your game, just making everything for a full 40 minutes, right? So, yeah, I mean, whether it's starting slow or ending the half slow or, there's going to be certain lulls where some players aren't hitting some shots or there's some mistakes or, you got to make the other team make some adjustments, and then you got to make adjustments. I mean, that's just part of the game. So, yeah.
I agree. But the slow start thing has been years. We've pounded that. We've beat the
we didn't have a slow start last night.
We haven't really had many at all this year. They've come out with some energy pretty much all year. I mean, we haven't even talked about it. We haven't even mentioned it.
Right.
So,
well, and that's the back and forth of basketball. That's the ebb and flow of basketball, because it's a situation where in basketball you can score points so fast and things can happen so fast that you get up 10 and it's easy to kind of, okay, we got a lead, and you kind of get a little complacent. You're not playing as hard in certain spurts of the game. Meanwhile, the other team is down and they're in desperation mode. So, I mean, there's that whole, mental gymnastics of it as well as, you got to stay locked in. And sometimes it's just naturally hard to get a player to stay locked in like they're losing the game on defense when you're actually up like 17, right? So that's why you see so many back and forth in basketball and runs and stuff like that, because I think that it's very easy to mentally to get comfortable when you have a lead. And then the other team gets in, basically like fight mode, right? And survival mode just to try to get back in the game. And so they're playing harder. And, Boston College played harder the last 4 minutes, scored 13 points and got within 10. So it happens. It goes back and forth. And what the problem is that when they come back, you got to be able to come back and hit them in the mouth again and get that momentum back up and take the lead and get back up 10. And, that's exactly what we did.
At Syracuse Nerd 44, 9 p.m. tip-offs suck. I don't care how we win. A win is a win. But if we want to be good against good teams and make the madness, then we need to keep building some sloppy basketball on the offensive end, but the defensive end is on the upward trend. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, you could blanketly say what you just said about any negative point to any game, right? Because it's never going to be perfect, right?
No.
So with that said, that's it. Show's over, right? But to his point, the defense has been stepping up, and I have to agree with. Well, especially I have to agree with the 9 p.m. tip-offs. Let me tell you something. My wife actually woke me up to watch that. I said, "Wake me up at 9." I fell asleep. I was like 8:10 watching. What was it? What was I watching? Was I watching the end of the Clemson game? Was it Clemson? I can't remember. I was watching another game. Oh, the Louisville game, right? So I was watching that, and my eyes were dropping. I'm like, look, wake me up at 9 when Syracuse comes on. So she did. So I woke up. I stayed up for the whole damn thing, but it was not easy. So yes. But good enough to be a tournament team, I think so. The offense, some of the sloppy shot selection, the really poor 3-point shooting, that needs to be worked on. But again, Bell comes out, he hits 4. I'm happy 4 out of 9. I'm fine with that.
No, that's a good percentage, and I think still too to this point, college basketball is always tough. Well, really, college sports, regardless. Like you come out of your non-conference schedule, and sometimes it's hard to judge. It's hard to compare non-conference schedules when you don't have a lot of like opponents, right? And then you get into the conference play, and it's still. I mean, it takes a while for you to actually figure like, is Boston College good? What teams are good, right? Like what team's schedule is coming out of non-conference? Who's actually legit, right? And that's the one thing that I think, we go back and forth on, because Boston College, they've been scoring a lot. And Boston College, I think, is looked at as a different kind of team normally than the normal Boston Colleges that we've seen.
They're better this year. It's supposed to be.
They are. Right. But when you see a game like this, then there's everybody else that just talks about, oh, well, when we play tournament teams or when we play – I still think it's too early to really – I don't know how good Boston College is.
Yeah, well,
all I know is it's a home game, and we won at home.
Yeah, and that's all that matters, really. I mean,
no, and it's just like yesterday, right? There were some teams in the ACC that figured out, going on the road's not easy to play, even if you're supposed to. Elite. And hell, I think Louisville went to Miami and won, didn't they?
I think so.
So I mean, it's hard to win a game, any game in the conference away, and when you play at home, you got to try to, keep home court and win. So I mean, that's all we can do at this point. But I'd, as you'd like to say, keep my powder dry on judging Boston College on how good they are, because I think that they could have played a lot better, and I think that we're probably going to see a better team and a different Boston College team when we play them at Boston.
Nadal mentions here in the spaces, Syracuse adjusted defense is up to 38 on KenPom, that's pretty good. I think they lead the ACC in steals per game as a team. So. Pretty happy about that. Louisville was at Miami, won by 9. Clemson went to Virginia Tech and kind of got handled. I watched some of that game.
Did you see the video of Gerard?
Yeah, what the hell was up with that? That was weird.
I'm willing to bet that he was probably supposed to be somewhere else in the court.
He was supposed to be in the corner. That's where he was supposed to be.
Yeah. So the coach is helping him.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't know you could get out there like that and do that. I mean, you're out of your area, right? Stepping on the court and push your guy around like it's what is it? Upward? What's that league? Everybody's got that league. What the hell is it? The church league where you get the wristbands? Oh, maybe you don't have it. Anyway, it's like where you guide it's beginner basketball. You guide the kids around and stuff and show them where they need to be. Coaches on the floor moving the kids around and whatnot, But yeah, look, it was a little weird, but after he brushed him off, he realized where he was supposed to be and he went there. So, let's see here. Back to, let's do David. At David Super on Twitter, needed that win. Extremely fortunate to get the win. The first half was something. Built 19-point lead somehow undeserved. Boston College. I almost said Boston College. Boston College, 13 turnovers in that half. Were mostly stupid, careless, but we win because of the difference in turnovers, difference in free throws, and 0 points from Quentin Post. Yeah, if he's scoring, that game's a totally different game. And like you mentioned earlier, Joe, the free throws are just so lopsided. If you're a Boston College fan, you look at it and you say, well, we got screwed by the refs big time. Because it could be, and you got a case, because as aggressive as they were in that first half on defense, Syracuse, that is. I mean, they kind of let them play, but they weren't really calling anything. There was a lot going on. So, I mean, you could make that call, but Syracuse's game is trying to get to the line. And we kind of talked about Malik Brown needed to do that, and he did yesterday, which is because he's good enough to do it. And he just, he's just down sitting there posting up below the rim and just slamming it down. But, he's a little bit more active. Got to the line 9 times, was it?
I think 8.
Yeah, 7 for 8.
And him and Queeter Copeland, they got some
chemistry.
I mean, they definitely have some chemistry out there on the court.
They must practice that no-look pass stuff under the rim constantly. And if you're a Boston College fan watching that in like 3 in a row, It has got to be so aggravating. I mean, we've all been there,
yeah.
right? So
No, yeah, I like the one where he drove and then just kind of just left it for him and he dunked.
He just the ball almost levitated too one time. He just kind of levitated it. Malik Brown grabbed it, slammed it home. I mean, it was impressive. The chemistry is impressive. I feel like those guys are on the same page for sure. And someone in the comments had mentioned them being or Malik Brown being the consistent, but I mean, Quadir Copeland is definitely stepping up to be another consistent guy. I mean, you're not going to be perfect every game, but he's doing the things that he does every game, right? I mean, it's not always in the points total, but it's what you do besides that, and he's awesome. So. You got anything on Facebook? I have a few more. I have a bunch here.
I mean, Mike's got need to shoot better, way too many stupid turnovers, and got clobbered on the offensive glass. Loved the defensive effort, especially in the first half. They were active and swatted everything away. And, of course, the refs showing their hatred of Syracuse by allowing Brown and Mitz to get mugged and not call anything all day.
See, I'm glad I'm not the only one that saw that. I'm glad someone else brought it up. But,
yeah, I mean, I think, again, if you turn around and you're a Boston College fan, I'm sure there's plenty of those steals in the first half where you were like, "Whoa, where's the foul? He mugged him," right?
There was so much over the back going on with Quentin Post. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was just it was ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous. Filipowski was doing the same thing against Duke, and he wasn't. Malik Brown wasn't getting those calls either. So,
again, you listen to that or you hear that comment, and someone sees that. But if you look at the box score and we only had 8 turnovers to their 22 and 18 fouls, or 7 fouls to their 18, then
it's perception.
It's pretty lopsided one day. One way.
It is, and it's perception as you're watching the game. Because after I watched the game and I saw the box score, first of all, I didn't think Judah played 31 minutes, and I had no idea that how lopsided the foul shots were. I mean, the fouls in general, but I mean, they only went to the line 4 times.
4 times.
So, yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'd be pissed. We've been in that spot. So, whatever. At Davy Duck 25, good win against Boston College team that is mid-tier ACC. Still a bunch of softies. Cuse turned into ACC team and has lost their Big East ways. Need attitude instead of complaints. Need toughness. I think this team's extremely tough.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not extremely tough, but this is a pretty tough team. This is a scrappy, tough team. This isn't Derek Coleman, Billy Owens.
Well, I think,
stuff,
and again, too, I think that in a lot of areas, in a lot of ways, we're undersized against some of these guys, too.
They're still
because you look at like McLaughlin last night, right? And he was only 6'7" or 6'8" or something, which is around the same as Chris Belk, and Justin Taylor, but he's got a big old body. You know what I mean? So even Malik, as much as he can handle himself, there was obviously you could see the size difference between him and Post. It's just he's a really good, talented, smart player. So. Malik Brown knows how to get under you could tell he was under Quentin Post's skin, and he wasn't reacting, and he got Quentin Post to foul out. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that I think they're very scrappy. I think they're very tough. It's just, I think that in a lot of places, especially when it comes to the rebounds, offensive rebounds and stuff against certain teams, I think that, it's not necessarily that we lack toughness as much as I think that we just lack some size to where just naturally they get beat there.
Yeah, and I guess I'd have to go back and look, but I just don't remember it that bad too often this year. Like last night, at one point, it was so frustrating.
I mean, we've had, against some good talent, we've had issues giving away offensive rebounds for sure.
And we're probably going to continue the rest of the year, and because of that size. But will we get a big win? That's something to hang your hat on. That's my question. That's what I'm wondering. Nick Goodman, at Nick Goodman, 18 on the Twitter. Positives, Malik Brown is one of the most reliable players I have ever seen. Love him so damn much. Bell stepped up big time for the first time in a long time. Quadir is rock solid. Negatives, what exactly does Taylor actually do for this team? Anything? There's a couple of these. And fans can be so brutal. too, by the way.
Yeah.
But he struggles, man. He does. He struggles. And if he could get hot from behind the arc, it's going to be, I mean, that's why he's there, right? You know, you saw Bell hit one, and then he goes down and he hits the next one, and boom, Syracuse is up 6-0 at the blink of an eye, and you're like, yes, this is going to be, you know, they're going to get hot, and even if they only stay hot for the first half, then so be it. But that was it for Taylor.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, it just seems to me like when you watch him, I mean, extreme effort. He plays good on defense. He gets rebounds. You know what I mean? So you know, but the problem I think is with our team is that we lack consistency when it comes to making outside shots, even really outside mid-range shots. I think that this is something I think that we're going to have to. JJ Starling's going to have to do it a little bit. Judah Mintz, I think, is going to be able. I think he's going to have to. You know, because last year he made a lot of mid-range jumpers, and I feel like this year it's not not hitting them, you know, at the same clip. So, but also from the 3-point line too. I think that we rely on Justin Taylor. If we were a situation where we didn't have to rely on Justin Taylor offensively, and he came in and gave us minutes and played good defense and got rebounds, then I think that he would be fine. I don't think anybody would really be saying anything. But the fact that he's probably most likely starting because we're relying on him and Chris Bell to possibly come out and start the game hot and be that outside presence and change the whole trajectory of, you know, and game plan of what the other team is doing. Like, I think that's really where it hurts, because he needs that confidence on the offensive end to hit those shots. And like you said with him, you know, earlier in the podcast, with him driving a couple times where he could have definitely drove a lot stronger and, you know, either finished or got to the free throw line or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it just seems to me like he's lacking a little bit of confidence when it comes to the offensive end. But I do believe that he can give us good minutes on the defensive end. Like I said, the sad thing is I think that he's not. I don't think he's in there for his defense. I think he's in there to be a shooter, to give us that option. And right now, I don't necessarily think that that he's got the confidence to do that consistently. So
yeah, well, he does.
But I wouldn't go as far as say he doesn't do anything and question what he does for the team. I wouldn't go that far.
I got one more.
I mean, isn't he leading rebounds?
He is not. Malik Brown is 6. Are you talking for the game or the season?
No, I was talking about for the season.
No, Malik Brown with 6, 5.9. But if you let me see, I mean, just for the hell of it, let's see what he's got. He's got 5.5. So he's tied with Copeland with 5.5.
Tied with Copeland with 83 rebounds for the year, and Malik Brown only has 88. So.
Yeah, well, they're all right there, all three of them.
And he's also, he's all right there. Yep.
All right, let's see. I got one more here.
Me too.
I saw that was pretty good. At Breaking Orange 44, Malik has such good instincts. Top 5 defender in the country. That being said, we had like 22 turnovers forced. Shouldn't have been that close. I mean, I somewhat agree. I do. It was the lulls in the offense. I think it was a 4-minute stretch without anything.
Yep.
There was the 8-0 run at the end of the half. I mean, I understand it, but I agree. At the end of the day, I agree with that. And Malik Brown's instincts is just.
You can't. That's why we talked about him being able to come in and be when I watched his tape, it was like, okay, this dude mentally knows the game. He's got fast hands.
High basketball
He's
IQ.
got instincts, very, very high basketball IQ. So even if for whatever he lacked as far as he didn't have the height to be a center, or he didn't have a jump shot, or he didn't have, post moves and things like that, I knew that he was going to be able to come in and help last year as a freshman just because of that, because he was an unselfish guy that came in and did his job and did it well, and he's just got all those instincts. And now you can tell that he's worked on his free throws. He's shooting way better from the free throw line this year. He's hit threes, and the coaches aren't pulling him out. So obviously he's working on his offensive game. So a lot of times it's the other way around. A lot of times it's you have the God-given ability and talent, and you do all these things, but your basketball IQ isn't great, so it kind of it stops you from maximizing your talent. And then this situation is complete opposite. I mean, he's usually where he needs to be. I mean, just think about some of the plays. That last night, guy drives by, everyone looks like a layup. All of a sudden, he just spikes it against the damn backboard, right out of nowhere. He knew exactly where to be. Copeland drove, threw the ball up. It was wild. Well, who's there? Copeland for an alley-oop. Malik Brown for an alley-oop. He just knows the game so well, and now all he has to do is work on the jump shot, work on all those other things, which you can get better in practice. So, to me, seeing these past couple of games and how he can score and how he's stopping, he's holding these big men, these good big men in our conference to such, low point totals and just not great, efficient games. The sky's the limit for him, dude. Sky is the limit.
Absolutely, and he's someone that will probably be back next year and be able to definitely make a difference. Yeah. Again, I mean, he made a difference in a lot of games last year.
Yeah, he did, but you can tell that he's taken another step this year. And so David from Facebook, I feel like previous teams would have lost this game being up 19 and let them come back and go up by 1. Last couple of years, they would have lost by 10 because they would have just heaved threes. This team has grit, likes to drive the lane and hit occasional threes. At least they finished second half better than they closed out the first half. Still undefeated at the Dome. Keep it up and see what happens.
Is 21 threes, 6 out of 21. That's too many, right? That's throwing up too many. I think
say it's. If we made 3 more, I wouldn't say too many.
But we didn't, though, right? But we'd be pushing almost 50% at that point. But we're at 28. Right. We're at 28. So 28%, 6 for 21. I think it's too many. We were never trying to have to play from behind. That was a lot. Some of those threes were during panic moments when Boston College was making their run. But I don't think all of them were great shot selection, and whatever. Sometimes it's tough to judge, right? But because a couple of them were like Justin Taylor one time was wide open. So, but it's just not their game. Their game is what he would mention about driving the lane and doing that. And I think it's probably too much. But you start off with 2 for 2.
Right.
It's like you feel that magic, and then you're like you're chasing it the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So,
and to be fair, you take away Chris Bell's shots, then they went 2 for 12. So
true. Okay.
I mean, take away one player, and we only shot 12, and it was an even worse percentage, obviously. Right, yeah. So, but again, that's why he's out there, right? So
and he's poised too. By the way. Talk about where Malik Brown is now. Just wonder where Chris Bell will be next year. Because we all remember Chris Bell last year. He was still sipping on the bottle. He's at least chomping on some meat now. And next year, you almost can't wait to see that jump for a guy like him because the talent's there and he's poised. You know what I'm saying?
When you see him, he jumped the passing lane, got a couple steals last night. You have 2 or 3, open dunks. So. It's not just like he was just shooting threes. It's not like normally he's just shooting his 3-pointers on his way to 20 points or 18 or when he goes off like this. But
21 threes isn't bad, says Captain Patrick.
It's not awful.
Who invited Captain in here anyway? To disagree?
It's not awful. It's just you'd like to obviously make more.
6 for 23. That's why I mentioned the 6. 21's not bad if you hit 9 of them, like Joe said. That's great. 35 isn't bad if you hit 16. What the hell? So I hear you though, Cap. I love you, dude. All right.
So I got one more.
Oh, for the love of Pete. Go ahead. Go.
Okay. So Brandon from Facebook, ESPN had BC over SU. So let's go 2-2 in the ACC and 11-4 overall. I think this is better than what I would have asked for this far into the season. What do you think about that?
I would have to say yes. Like I mentioned though, it's kind of like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're just not doing what you're not supposed to do, right? Which is beat teams. You're not surprising anybody, but it is good. It is good. It is. Syracuse is in a good place right now. They're up to 73 in the net. They're in a good place right now as far as the season is at this point. But from here on out, it's tougher. So.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it's definitely tough when you got out of the non-conference. But I would definitely challenge, any fan to go back into the schedule and look from up to this point, in the beginning of the season, and say you had us, at 11-4. I think that a lot of people would guess that we would have lost the 4 that we lost to. But I think that it would be hard pressed for somebody to think that we would have won all those other games.
I mean, I would agree.
I mean, I personally expected more losses at this point.
Yeah,
at least the Oregon one.
Oregon, I mean, looking at Colgate, should have lost that game. And, Pitt always, they've had our number the past few years. That game worried me. Really worries me going on the road.
LSU and Georgetown. I
didn't know enough about LSU, to be honest with you, but Georgetown and then, Pitt on the road coming up, that's going to be a huge test.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the zoo, whatever. That's such a stupid name for a place. All right. The all-time series between Syracuse and UNC sits at 16-6 in favor of the Tar Heels. They're currently on a 2-game win streak, but they've won 12 out of the last 14. Last year's loss was a 68-72 loss. Mintz, Gerard, Edwards, Bell, Williams. You're starting 5 with Gerard with 18 points. UNC, they're currently on a 5-game win streak. They're sitting at 12-3, 4-0 in the ACC. They've got conference wins over Florida State. Then there's Pitt, Clemson, and NC State, all part of that 5-game win streak. Those are the last 3 games they've played, too, all part of that 5-game win streak I just mentioned for them. They're led in scoring by R.J. Davis, who's also their biggest threat from outside. He's 44 for 111. He takes a ton of them, 39.6%. He's averaging over 20 points a game. Then you've got this Stanford transfer, his first year with UNC, Harrison Ingram. He is averaging 12.8 points a game, but he can also hit from outside, and he's 27 for 64, good enough for 42.2% from behind the arc, and we all know what Armando Bacot can do. Second leading scorer on the team with 14.5 points a game, and he also leads with 2 blocks, no surprise there. North Carolina is 45.3% from the floor, 75.6% from the line, and 36 even from distance. They are sitting 9th in the net. So obviously, a quad 1 game for Syracuse, another quad 1 opportunity. Syracuse, like I mentioned, 73. So this would be a quad 2 game for UNC. And games at Chapel Hill, tip-offs at noon. My biggest question, a really good test for Malik Brown. I want to know, can he do it 3 times in a row? Because you got one of the best again. You had Filipowski, Post, and Bacot. 1, 2, 3. That is a stretch. And if Malik Brown can do what he did against the other 2, then they've got a shot. They've got a shot. But you can't turn this into what happened at the Duke game at Duke, because you do such a tremendous job in the first half, and then you kind of shit your pants in the second, and it became a mess. So that's what I'm afraid of. The threes coming at some point, which you got to expect it. It's just got to be managed. And then how good can Malik Brown do with Armando Bacot?
Yeah, I mean,
how confident are you with Malik Brown and Armando Bacot? How do you feel about it? Like judging by what you've just seen the past couple games, feel pretty good? I don't feel bad.
I mean, I don't feel bad. Yeah. I mean, I don't. The thing is that that's not the guy I'm worried about in this game.
Not either, but he can't shoot from the outside really or anything like that either. And you got to worry about fouls with that type of play too, with Malik Brown. So yeah, RJ Davis is a problem. He's the one I'm worried about.
Yeah, well, they have a couple different guys because, again, the freshman guard, Elliot Cadeau, he was one of the top guards coming out in this freshman class, and he's just starting to figure it out. and I watched a little bit of that North Carolina NC State game, and you can see, he's just budding with talent. He's just trying to figure it out with everybody, especially with you talk about the transfer Ingram, who he had 19 rebounds against NC State last night. So again, when I talk about that, I'm talking about not necessarily Malik Brown stopping Baycott. I'm thinking, who's going to stop this 6'7", 235-pound guy that just had 19 rebounds against NC State? 5 of which were offensive. So, there's things like that. There's things like, Cormac Ryan, the transfer from Notre Dame, who's filling in, in the starting lineup alongside, obviously, Ingram, Baycott, Cadeau, and R.J. Davis. We know what R.J. Davis can do. Cormac Ryan, we know that he's a great, role player, team guy. He does all the little stuff. It can seem like he's not doing anything, and then he comes and hits a couple threes like he did against NC State, and it's just helps. So, but also it's also the guys coming off the bench. Seth Trimble coming off the bench as a guard. Jalen Withers, a 6'9" senior, and Jalen Washington, a 6'10" sophomore. They're a big team, big body team, and really that's what worries me more than anything, is that we're going to have to suck our defense down and some of the players down low to try to help get rebounds, which might turn into wide open threes for other people, because Cormac Ryan can knock it down, Trimble can knock it down, R.J. Davis, he can knock down, he can create his own shot. But I'm more worried about Ingram. I'm more worried about who's going to start who's going to stop Harrison Ingram, because that guy is starting. He's becoming a star with UNC, almost to the point where Baycott only played 24 minutes last night. So 24 minutes, 9 points, 5 rebounds.
He's getting old, dude. He's like, past his prime. He's like 42, right?
Something like that, I think. I think his son's getting recruited.
Yeah, right.
No, but it's just one of those things. It's just like North Carolina always has height, and they always got that guard that can knock down the big shots. And obviously, it's always hard to play, on the road. And again, this is a team that is trying to come back from, a not so great year last year, and their only losses are to really good teams, and they have, wins against really good teams. So it's going to be a tough one, man. Absolutely. It's going to be tough. And I think it's to me, it's down low. And if we can keep the rebounds close, and we can keep certain people out of foul trouble, and obviously keep R.J. Davis, as guarded as possible, then I think we might have a chance. But again,
they're ranked 7th too, which I forgot to mention. So
yeah, they're 4-0 in the ACC. There's a lot of, I've been hearing people say that, they haven't even reached, the peak of what they could be with all their, the transfers and newcomers. You got to figure you take away R.J. Davis and Baycott, their starting lineup is, 2 freshmen or 2 walk-ons and a freshman. So they're still trying to figure that out. So they could be dangerous by the end of the year, is basically what I'm saying. I'm kind of glad we're getting them a little early, but who knows? You probably got to play them again at this point. And on top of that, we haven't. Our track record against North Carolina since we've joined the ACC isn't great anyway. So
that's what I mentioned. It's not good at all. We've won some big games against UNC.
Yeah, but I think like 2.
It's been 2
in like 10 years.
Yeah,
so
we've won 2 out of the last 14. So
I'm not saying that we don't have the talent to beat them. But again, you want to talk about a tough physical team that's got, a lot of experience.
And always does. Then they just always do.
Right. You realistically look at it. R.J. Davis and Baycott, I feel like have been there forever. That's like 4 or 5 years. I want to say Cormac Ryan's been in the ACC for 5 years, coming from Notre Dame. Cadeau, obviously a freshman. Harrison Ingram, he's a junior, so he could be 3-4 years in.
R.J. Davis is a senior this year. He's his 4th year.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, what does a senior mean at this point?
We don't know.
With graduate and with COVID year and with all that, I don't know how long. I feel like Baycott's been here for 6 years.
I know. He's in his 5th, but you're right. Yeah. No,
So
I feel the same way.
even Withers coming off the bench, he's a senior. So you got experience and you got, big bodies. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But again, this is the first time that we're playing them man to man, not playing against 2-3 zone. And obviously, I think I'd be a lot more worried if we were playing against 2-3 zone against a team like this. So I think with the team we got, with the depth we got, I think that gives us, puncher's chance. But to me, realistically, that's really what it is. I mean, we got to be able to take care of the ball, obviously, and obviously we want to win the free throw battle. Pretty much what we just did at Boston College, right? We want to win the free throw battle. We want to win the turnover battle. And then obviously the next most important thing is rebounds. And then rebounds actually might be the most. We don't even have to win it. We just got to keep it close, and definitely got to keep that offensive rebound number down, because that's really their strength. So at the Smith Center.
All right. Well, what do you got?
Oh God.
Let's go first. Well,
thanks, man.
Look, we've been right all year on our wins. If that makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
The scores have been a little off.
I'm just saying it's tough because I'm going to this game. I don't want to predict that we're going to lose, but
well, then predict that we win, and then you'll be wrong.
No, I'm going to leave that up to you. So, no, I mean, I'm only going to go off. I'm not saying that we aren't a tournament team. I'm not saying that we're not a good team, but going off, history, as far as so far this year. A team that's been ranked and a team like this, we haven't been able to overcome, and they eventually, kind of take the bull by the horns, and we end up losing by double digits. So as bad as it sounds, I think just being in the game all the way to the end against a team like this, especially on the road, is a step in the right direction for us. So with that said, I'm gonna take Carolina 72.
Go ahead.
Syracuse 67.
What? It's a weird one. Well, I'm right there. Close enough. I just don't think, even if this game is at home, I'm not even sure if I'm picking them to win. But, by the way, our stat guy over here in the X, David, preseason KenPom had a 6-8 at this point. Just for So... for what it's worth. I just saw it.
Yeah, KenPom did not have us. I think we might have actually surpassed already how many wins KenPom had us for the whole season.
Shut up.
It's close, dude.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
11? He had less than 11 or right around 11 for the whole year?
I mean, I'll let David get on that, but
that's insulting. So insulting. I'm offended.
You got to remember where we were preseason ranked. What, 11th or 12th in the ACC, right? Well, I mean, it wasn't high.
I don't even remember. I pay so little attention to that stuff. It
really doesn't matter, but
yeah,
it's good,
We'll wait for David.
Good motivation.
Let's see. Hold on. What's going on here? So look, I don't think that 6 and 7. He says correction, 6 and 7. Missing 2 Maui games where opponent wasn't going to be known preseason. Right. You understand that, right? He didn't know the opponents. He couldn't predict it. So anyway, I don't think Syracuse can go in and win this game. However, I think they play it close, at least for a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's going to be UNC is going to run away with it. 76-62. I think it could be a struggle. So 76-62. UNC. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I love being wrong. But, I mean, I was a little tiny bit worried about Boston College. So, I mean, at home. I mean, that's just where my gut is, So, I mean, to say that Syracuse is going to go to UNC and shock the world there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're still trying to find that line of actually where we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's difficult. Like I said, I mean, I don't think no logical sports fan is going to be like, oh, you lost in Maui to Tennessee and Gonzaga, and at Virginia and at Duke. Oh wow, you suck.
And at
You know what I mean?
UNC, if we lose.
Oh yeah, even to that point, right? But as far as the teams that we beat, we don't know where they stand. You know what I mean? So it's like we're kind of in the middle, and I think Oregon was probably the best benchmark for us, and we played them shorthanded. So even if they got healthy and they started winning like they have, it really doesn't tell us too much. I mean, it counts as a win. It'll overall help us, right, in our resume. But, the people that know that we played them shorthanded, and they didn't have any big guys. And who knows if it would have mattered, because we did win by, 20, but still.
That is a quad 1 win currently right now, by the way. So
they moved up?
Yeah, Oregon's 47 right now. We needed them to just get to 50 to become a quad 1 win, and they're at 47.
Okay.
So, and I don't foresee them doing. I mean, they're going to be a good, solid team. So that's probably going to stay.
Yeah.
I would if I had to bet, I would say that would probably stay. So
like I said, to me it'll probably be an asterisk, but hopefully to the committee at the end of the year it's not. And hopefully it really doesn't even get to that point.
And let's be honest. Who knows? I mean, the algorithm or the formula is one thing, but the human finger on the scale is another, and you're never going to be able to eliminate it. And if someone's already got it in their head about it, then it being an asterisk is going to be there anyway. So it doesn't matter. I mean,
true.
Just that's how things work. So. All right. I think that's going to do it.
Shut your mouth.
For us. Who's that?
Nothing.
I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in through the spaces. We love you guys. Always there. And we'll try to get back here Sunday. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.